All right, welcome. Hey, I don't have a lot of time. Oop, let me get my audio down a little bit. Maybe I'll just move that away. Um, yeah, I don't have a lot of time today. I got a long day at work, and so this is definitely not going to be a very long stream. However, I wanted to get a little stream in to kind of talk about having a talk about transgenderism on Non Sequitur Show. We've tried it before. We've had some minimal success. We've had also some just what I can say would be constitutive of a dumpster fire. And so I want to ask you guys how to have a conversation about these topics, especially this one, because I asked people, what are some of the more volatile topics? And I mean, like, there was like 270, 280 votes. And it was pretty well evenly distributed between transgender and LGBTQ plus rights and things of that nature and abortion. And then gun control was third, but I only give three options plus an other, but there wasn't much in the others. But I think I had like 8%. But I agree. Abortion and LGBTQ plus and all that is just a very, very difficult topics to talk about sometimes because there's so much hostility and so much vitriol and so much virtue signaling on all sides, and I'm just over it. I'm just not interested in that. I know people want to have dumpster fires on Non Sequitur. I get it. That's what the channel kind of does. I understand. I like a good dumpster fire. Okay, I understand that. But I want to start something every so often during the show, occasionally, having conversations about very difficult topics on a way that isn't, one, offending anybody, but more importantly, is on a higher level that doesn't allow these people to come in and throw grenades in and be hyperbolic and be completely over the top because I'm just not into what's called repressive tolerance, which is basically the thesis to if you're a centrist or if you don't have a really strong position on something, you are part of the problem supposedly to them, and they try to shut down any kind of dialogue on all these topics. You see it all these places. Anywhere you have a volatile topic, you see somebody trying to shut down that conversation. They don't want that conversation to be had. Well, I'm not interested in that. Nobody's going to tell me what I can and cannot talk about. I've lost subs over things. I've lost subscribers over it, but I still talk about them. Why? Because I talk about what I want to talk about. That's it. That's what I do. Like it, watch. Don't like it, don't watch. But nobody's ever going to tell me what I can and cannot talk about, ever. I've said this for years. I don't know why that is so surprising to certain people. And I happen to think that's the more difficult the topic, the more need there is to talk about. Even on something like gun control, there's a clear conversation to be had on that. I mean, that is a very important topic, I think. And by the way, how's my audio? I'm sorry, but I know I see it swinging a lot. I didn't put a filter on. Maybe I should put a quick filter on so it doesn't swing as much here. One sec. And then off. Let me just add a compression on here. All right, that should be a little more normalized on the audio because I always get somebody say, "Hey, man, your audio." So let me know. All right. So, anyways, let me use gun control as an example because even though that's contentious, it was nowhere near as contentious as the transgenderism or the abortion one on my vote. I mean, like I said, there was I think almost 300 votes, and so with gun control, obviously, you have people that believe we have the right to bear arms and the Second Amendment. You have people that will argue that in the 18th and 19th century that the guns they had were flintlocks. They didn't even have bullets. They didn't have the amount of firing rate we have now. That yes, some of them did. There were some weapons that did have a somewhat high firing rate, but they were not bullets. They were musket balls, and they didn't have a very long trajectory. I mean, if I remember correctly, it's about 50, maybe 75 yards, as opposed to 300 yards easily on some small caliber weapons. The heavier caliber, obviously, they're not going to travel as far, but they have a lot more stopping power, right? But they travel less distance, so more of a heavier grain. You're not going to get something that's going to probably go 400 yards, at least not with any accuracy, right? That's the key thing I'm talking about with accuracy. But anyways, there's a discussion to be had there about, what is our rights to have guns and where should that limit stop? And I'm a centrist, and I'm going to repeat this over and over and over and over again. I am a centrist. Anybody who says otherwise, I'm just going to not talk to you. I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to mute you. I'm going to block you or just not talk to you. I have no interest in any kind of personal assassination attempts. If you come after my character, you're done. Game over. I'm not playing any longer. It's not happening. It's just not happening. If you want to unsubscribe, go with God, as they say, that may or may not exist. I'm just not interested. I don't do these for views. I don't do these for subscribers. I don't do these for super chats. I don't do them for memberships. I don't do them for Patreons. If people want to, I'll do all that. Then I thank them with the bottom of my heart. But even they don't ever tell me what I can and cannot talk about. Anyways, and so if you come up to my character, you try to label me something that I'm not, you're just going to be done. I just moving on. Bye-bye. And so I am a centrist. I tend to be socially liberal on most politics as far as like social programs. I do think that even in a democracy or constitutional republic, we have to have some kind of social programs. I am not a socialist. Don't call me a socialist. I'm not a Marxist. I'm not any of that stuff. And I'm certainly not a GOP conservative. My father was a conservative. My mom was a Democrat. But he was more of the Reagan type conservative types. So was I. People like or dislike Reagan, doesn't matter. But that was, again, decades ago in the 80s. But I would say that when it comes to fiscal problems, I do tend to be more conservative. I don't believe in things like earmarking. I don't believe in things like having an unbalanced budget. I don't believe in things like pay to play. I don't believe in overtaxation. I don't believe in government involvements in people's lives. So I tend to have relatively narrow views in that centrist, Overton window, so to speak. So when people label me things like alt left or alt right, I'm like, what the hell are you even talking about? I mean, it's just so far removed from reality. And so I don't want to engage in that when I get into these topics on the Non Sequitur show. I just don't think that topics, especially like this topic, transgenderism, I don't think that the hyperbole does anybody any good. It certainly does not help trans people. It certainly does not help raise the elevation of the conversation. I think what it tries to do is tries to shut down the conversation, and I'm not going to allow that anymore. They tried to do that a long time ago. If you guys remember, way back when, one of the first kerfuffles with Rationality Rules, when he was talking about transgender in sports, there was a conversation to be had there, and a lot of people were trying to have it, but people came in and said, no, you can't have this conversation. And it kind of split the ACA. There was a big schism because of it, because you had people saying, no, wait, we're free speech, people. I'm not an absolutist for the most part. I'm close, but I wouldn't say that I'm a free speech absolutist. However, I understand why people are. But I do tend to obviously damn near close to free speech absolutism. But I definitely accept free speech. And I'm not using it in the term of how you can argue against the government and not have fear of reprisal. Obviously, that's what free speech means in that context. But I mean free speech to be able to speak your mind in a place that allows you to have public speaking, such as YouTube or public forum or limited public forum. And if you remember with the whole Rationality Rules thing, the ACA really had a major schism and people left because they didn't want to have the conversation. They didn't want anybody to have the conversation. And so, by the way, I'm not ignoring the live chat. It's going to be live chat only. It's not panel. One, I don't have the time for it. And two, I'm saving that for the actual discussion. But anyways, Jesse LaRusso, what's up, man? Good to see you. Finally catch you live. Yeah, well, you're 8 hours ahead. That's why. Atomic says, longtime fan and coincidentally a trans person. Hey, I must have missed something. Or was this for a future discourse? Yes. Side note, pro hard discussion that not gloves on debates on this really. Yeah, look, I think, see, that's my point of view right there. The discussions can be difficult. They can be very, very hard to discuss. And I don't think that you have to necessarily have kid gloves to discuss them, right? I mean, people that are grown-ups can discuss things, right? Without having to like tiptoe around and walk on eggshells. Those are the kind of discussions that other people can have that I'm not interested in. I say things the way they are as I believe them. Accept them, don't accept them. If you think I'm wrong, show me I'm wrong, argue I'm wrong. Fine, great. That's the wonderful thing about YouTube and social media. If you think somebody's wrong, tell them and explain why. But you know what's so funny? I still to this day have people, oh, your paper's wrong. Okay, where? Now, I did have Dr. Pi go through it, who is a PhD in mathematics, and he found some, not logical errors, but he found some typographical issues with relationships of like plural singles and minor quotational issues. Excuse me. So Those have already been corrected. I've re-uploaded it, and so the little minor stuff I've already fixed. And I knew some of them because I latex is not easy to use, and so you have like close and open quotes, and so I fixed all that. Minor stuff. But as far as logic, he found no issue with the logic. And he went through step by step, and he actually did the exact same thing with the logic, and he said, yeah, I came to the same conclusion you did. So when people say my logic's wrong, they need to demonstrate that. Same thing with these issues. If you think I'm wrong on a social issue, which is quite possible, all you need to do is explain to me why. But don't treat me like an idiot. Don't treat me like an invalid. Don't treat me like I'm a pundit for some radical talking points or something like that. Not interested in that. I don't watch any of them. I've seen clips here and there, but I don't go to their YouTube channels and just binge watch them. I mean, I binge watch things like James Freeman, which like that. And I hope he never watches this because it'll stroke his ego, which is already massive. But I don't binge watch pundits, especially the alt-right pundits. I think a lot of this, what they say, are just as vitriolic as the people that on the other side. I think that both of them have very, very strong advocates that use hyperbolic language to get their point across to motivate their base, which is, to me, virtual signaling. And I'm just not interested in that. So yes, Atomic, yes, straight on. I think you're absolutely right on that. And if you want to join the panel, when I do have this on Non Sequitur Show, absolutely, by all means. And I'm probably going to invite Luxander too. If you remember Luxander, they came on. Oh my God, how many years ago was that? The first time first time we had this topic on Non Sequitur Show. But Luxander had popped up again. And always had civil dialogue with them, so I respect their opinion, and I'd love to have them come on and talk about it. So, all right, April, please don't block me, but I pegged us as slightly left to center. Again, April, the problem is that these political things are complicated, right? And so on social aspects, I'm probably left to center. Yes. That's only because the Overton window shifted, probably. I probably have most of these positions most of my life. I don't think I've really changed much over the years. But yes, I'm probably left to center on that. But when it comes to fiscal stuff, I tend to be more conservative. But unfortunately, that gets all shadowed down because people don't care about the conservative aspects. They care about the economic aspects. They care about the social reform aspects. But even back in the day when they had affirmative action kind of stuff, I spoke up and said, there might be some problems with how they're implementing affirmative action. I did think that it was required. I think that affirmative action had a purpose, and I think that it was needed because how the system was completely unfair. I do accept there is systemic racism embedded in the system. I don't know why anybody would think that I don't. I've never said otherwise. But it's how you go about, addressing that. And I think that, affirmative action at the time, I said, needed some kind of exit strategy. It needed some kind of expiration date. And we're finding out that to be the case. If not, the pendulum starts swinging the other way. So on social issues, yeah, you're probably right, April. I do tend left of center. Let's see here. Milwaukee Atheist. Oh my God, is this guy still talking? Who are you talking about? Which guy? I don't know to whom you're referring to, Lawrence. Are you and April having at it? Are you guys battling in my live chat? Come on. Daniel Cooper, easy. You're wrong by fiat. That's the easiest thing, right? You're just wrong. Jesse, say things please or offend. That's me also. Yeah. And and look, a lot of my audience is in the LGBTQ plus community. I mean, I'm pro that. Non Sequitur's always been pro that. I have people that are gay, trans, fly your freak flag. I don't care. To me, I live your life to how you want to. I'm a libertarian independent. I don't care how you live your life. I literally don't. I think the government should stay the hell out of our bedrooms. Fall in love with who you want to fall in love with. If you want a gay marriage, go for it. Be miserable like all people that are married. Just kidding. In fact, people don't seem to realize that I literally left religion because of the LDS Church promoting anti-gay marriage rhetoric. They were literally against gay marriage, and I was like, why would a church care about this? Why should a church influence politics? That's what really got me into secularism. And so I've always been a staunch advocate for that. And to think otherwise is just mind-blowing to me. Atomic says, One of the biggest problems is that painting the idea of transgenderism even exists as a form of indoctrination to begin with. So hopefully that topic comes up. And there's a topic to be had there. I do believe words have usages. I do recognize that the term transgenderism could be used pejoratively. However, it's also used non-pejoratively. Same thing, and I'm consistent. Same thing with the word evolutionism. People say evolutionism is pejorative that young earth creationists use. Well, so yeah, I still accept evolution. I'm an evolutionist. I accept evolutionism. Okay. If they want to use it pejoratively, okay, but it doesn't affect my beliefs. I still accept evolution is true. If you want to label me an evolutionist, I'm quite fine with that. If you want to say I accept evolutionism, okay, yeah, absolutely. What's the problem? Words have usages, right? And words that in my day were pejorative are no longer pejorative, and vice versa. Like I don't like use the word queer. It's just not in my vocabulary. And that's because in when I grew up, that was pejorative, and I found it to be offensive. I don't stop just finding that offensive because people have tried to normalize it and use it, which is perfectly fine. I'm not against that, but they can't force me to use a word that I used to find offensive, right? I mean, why would they be able to do that? You know, they shouldn't be able to say you must use this word or we find it to be offensive. No, I don't have to use certain words if I don't want to use them. If I personally don't like that word, I mean that's how speech works, right? How do you forget the time zones, Jesse? You're on the other side of the pond, man. Tomic says, yes, I remember, because gosh, it's been a long time. Flat Earth feels like ancient history to me now that it fell offline. Is it? I don't know. I haven't caught up with the Red's rhetoric for a while. He seems to still be doing those debates, and I applaud him for it. I think the Flat Earth is on its death throes, but it's like a cockroach. It just never seems to die. Alex says, have you read the work of John Mahoney? John Money. I don't know. I do a lot of reading. I literally have tabs open on my Opera browser of just PDFs and books and things of that nature, and I'm constantly, and so I don't recognize the name offhand, but I might have. But anyways, like I said, so I want to have this discussion again on the Non Sequitur show, specifically relating to the topic of Michael Knowles, that one guy from the CPAC or whatever, the CPAC. It doesn't matter. Who was talking about the eradication of transgenderism. And people have mistakenly think that I'm somehow supporting him, which is absolutely ludicrous. I believe in ethics in journalism. I believe that the journalist should be objective. I think the journalist should not sensationalize for headlines and views. And I hold this across the board. If you're an honest news organization, if you're somebody that's not a biased one, obviously the biased ones are going to change things. But if you're just like NPR, or in this case, Rolling Stone magazine, I don't believe that you should overplay what somebody has said because I think you feed into them that way. I think that you should take what they say and then go after them for that alone. Because if not, I do think that they exactly know what they're saying. The people that are the grenade throwers, they know what they're doing as far as motivating their own base, and they know what they're doing to cause a reaction and get the attention they want, which exactly was what happened in this particular case when he said that he wanted to eradicate transgenderism, which, again, the first question to my mind is, how would that even take place? How do you eradicate something like that? Statistically speaking, you're always going to have people biologically that are going to be gay or have gender dysphoria. I don't know how you could ever just magically make that go away. And why would you? The only reason I would think that people would is obviously people that suffer from gender dysphoria are uncomfortable. It must be very difficult to have, that kind of psychological state of just not being comfortable in your own body. I get that. And if it relieve their, mental stress, then whatever works for them. So I can understand why, somebody wouldn't want to have, people having that kind of mental stress, but I don't think he cared about that, right? I don't think he really cares about people having mental distress. And I'm not trying to even make the argument that he would be arguing, okay? I'm just saying from my point of view, I can see various ways of talking about these topics that are not over the top and hyperbolic. And I think, of course, one of the talks that could be had is, if you could prevent somebody from having these stressors in their life and that are that causing them harm, because I think gender dysphoria would probably cause somebody harm, then how would you go about doing that, right? I mean, obviously, there's many different ways to go about that, and I really do believe personally it's between them and their doctor and their psychologist or psychiatrist and whoever they ever go to help. It's between them, period. I don't know why anybody else has any say on it. I don't think the family has any say. I mean, again, we're talking about adults here. We're not going to get into the children aspect, but adults. I think that, nobody else should, choose something for somebody else. If they think that's the best course of action for them and the doctors agree, I don't know why anybody would try to override that, right? But that's the topic, it's a discussion that I want to have a non sequitur show with people that, are on the, that in those communities, on that side that want to be able to talk about these things, but not have it completely shut down by people that just want to go to these conversations to throw grenades, because that's not what I'm interested in doing on the non sequitur show. As far as this topic, other ones, yeah, well, fine, obviously flat Earth or whatever. But like I said, I am going to be getting a promotion supposedly soon. I'm just going through HR and all that. It's significant. I'm probably gonna have to change my days though. I might be taking off Thursdays rather than Fridays now, because I have to work probably Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I got to do some. I got to go on like Sunday mornings. I do new hire training. I got to do for people. But I'm still gonna be doing non sequitur show once a week, as much as I can until I stop having interest in it, which did happen for a while, but it's come back, as you can tell. I think the shows have been fun and interesting. Let's see here. Tom 34B, you have to say the 34P as part of my name or else I will feel offended. Tom, sue me. Oh, wait, don't do that. All right. Hey, Pheasant, what up, buddy? He says, hey, Steve, guess who is planning on moving down within a month or two? Moving down to where? California? In my area? Come on down, man. Dude, come to my area. I will be happy to hang out with you. And let's go. Atomic says, Daniel says, I'm guessing they think you can pray the guy away, or I think you mean pray the gay away, which I think is the most morally reprehensible thing I've ever heard. I don't think Jesus is going to give a crap about your sexuality. I've never seen pray the gay away work. I don't think it'll ever work. I am highly against reparative therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy using any kind of aversion therapy or electroshock therapy. I think they're barbaric. I think they're torturous. I think that they are unscientific. I know that the Mormon Church at one time actually was supporting a group. I think it was called the Evergreen Project, if I'm not mistaken, that actually advocated those types of things. And I think it does increase the suicide rate of gay people, because you can't just change somebody's sexual orientation. It just doesn't work that way. The most you can do, I think, is they will pretend, right? They'll pretend that their sexual orientation has changed, and they may even go through the motions. But that's just performative at that point, right? There's no possible way I think you can psychologically change somebody's fundamental sexual attraction. At least in 99.999% of the cases. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but at least as far as I'm concerned, you can't. Atomic says, at the end of the day, and by the way, I appreciate you guys letting me, actually like give you guys my positions, because if you tell me what my position is, we're not going to have a conversation. If you ask me what my position is, I will always tell you. I try to be forthright. I don't obfuscate. I don't equivocate. I'm direct as can possibly be. This is why when I'm strawmanned, I get a little irritated, because if you strawman my argument, you aren't even listening to my argument. You're strawmanning something completely irrelevant. And I see that happen frequently. Atomic says, at the end of the day, it's two fronts. Medical care for dysphoria, as well as social conversion about gender norms. Okay, but the medical needs to come first and not prevented by laws. And I agree in most of that. Yes, I don't think there should be laws against people getting the medical need they need. But again, those needs have to be discussed with a doctor. And again, we're talking about adults here, not children. I'm not going to get on that side of the discussion. But as an adult, there should not be laws to prevent you to get whatever psychiatric or physical or whatever your doctor thinks is best for you, and you agree. At that point, you have consensus, and then you go forth with that plan of action. Nobody else should have any say on that, because they don't have the skill set nor the information specific to anybody's individual case to make those determinations. I don't think that's radical. I think that's a centrist view. So I'm going to ask you guys, is my view on that radical? Like, seriously, do I have a radical view on that I believe that when it comes to transgender or anything like that, it's between them and their doctor? Is that really a radical view? I honestly want to know if you can answer me on that. People congratulate me. I'm like, oh, for what? I didn't even think about it. Yeah. My promotion. Yeah, unfortunately, it is a pretty good raise. Unfortunately, it's more hours too. One third the raise, one third the time, and so I'm going to be spending a lot more hours at work. But I enjoy what I do, so I don't mind. And I get to train people, and they're opening new stores, and I get to do new store training. I love that. I love that. So, like I said, people can call me a narcissist for this, and I don't even give a shit because I think it's fucking hilarious that they do. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. What the hell did I say to Alexa? But I do believe I'm very good at my job. I am very good at what I do, and everybody seems to agree with me on that. That works for me. So, the Satan show was awesome. Daniel Cooper said, "Thank you. I enjoyed that show. That was fun. Thank you." Ashley, oh my gosh, Ashley Williams, holy cow, there's a blast from the past. Hey, it's been forever since I caught a live show. Hope you're doing well, Steve. I am. Thank you, Ashley. Good to see you. So Frank, St. George and St. Bacchus couldn't pray the gay away. Yeah, it's so funny. I just the other day, I have to go in early today because we got a regional manager coming in, and I think an executive VP. And so I got to come in and do some stuff early. So I do got to end this probably relatively within the next 30 minutes. But it's funny because there's a lot of stuff that didn't get done. Not my, it has nothing to do with me. But the manager or the person in charge of that, I was like, dude, man, Jesus couldn't even help you with it. He wears a cross. I'm like, Jesus couldn't even help you get this done, man. He'd be like, dude, you want water and a wine? I'm your man. You want some bread? I got you covered. But getting all this done before tomorrow? Nope. There's a lot of stuff to get done. Jesus be like, nope, can't do it. Atomic, these statements like X must be eradicated are nigh impossible to defend. And I agree with you to a certain extent. Obviously, I don't even know what it would mean. But I think that, there's different, like I said, people say, oh, well, you're trying to like justify what he said. No, but here's my position. And it's very clear. I come from Jewish cultures. I'm very, very proud of my Jewish heritage. And if somebody said they want to eradicate Judaism as opposed to they want to eradicate the Jews, those are very contextualized different statements, right? The second one clearly has a much deeper, more profound connotation than the prior one. People should attack him for his statement as is. If somebody said they want to eradicate Judaism, okay, go after them for that. Well, what? Okay, but I got people. You know what? There are people that want to eradicate Judaism, and it's not just anti-Semites. There's people that want to eradicate religion, right? There are anti-theists out there that believe that that religion is harmful, and they want to eradicate religion, which would mean they want to eradicate Judaism. Correct? That's just a logical entailment. Which, again, I try to argue by logic and reason. I do not argue from ethos. I argue from logos. I've been that way for how long? I don't know why anybody would think otherwise. And I think that is a rational, logical conclusion. If you want to eradicate religion, that entails you want to eradicate Judaism. Does it not? Yes or no? Leave a message in the comments after the video if you think that doesn't. I don't know how it wouldn't, right? But yes, what he said needs to be addressed as is. Because I don't know what it would mean to eradicate transgenderism. I don't know how does that work? You're always going to have people that are going to have dysphoria. It's just biological at this point. It's just inherent in the fact that we're just humans. And that happens to be what happens. Especially with Florida treating it like some world-ending threat as it turns into a Christian authoritarian state. Oh, well, Florida, come on, Atomic. Florida, please, Florida does not represent the rest of the state, man. They're outliers, to say the least, man. Oh, my God. There's a reason why there's a Florida man, okay? I lived in Florida. And, it's funny. I can't really say that I saw too much out of the norm, but I lived there years ago. But nowadays, yeah, Florida is just one messed up state. Tom, my YouTube lawyer, is shaking his head. I'm suing you for your channel, Steve. Ashley, that's what I appreciate about you. Thank you. Please don't change. I try not to. Look, I'm not going to change for anybody, man. Here's the thing. I've said this over and over and over again. Watch me, don't watch me. Don't tell me what to do, and don't tell me my positions, and certainly do not character assassinate me. I'm not tolerating it any longer, and I'm not even having those discussions with those people. They're done. Over. I want to have conversations that are people that are adults that can talk about things, even difficult things, but not using empty rhetoric and not coming from a position of ethos. There are people that want to have those discussions, and I'm all for it. If you want to have an ethos discussion, knock yourself out. I'm not your person for that. I'm just not. I try to be very, very logically minded and very, very rational. I'm not claiming that I always get it right. When people say, hey, I think your logic has an error here. Okay, great. Let's explore that. Yes, you know what? Let me what I do is I go, let me reword that so I can short my arguments. Atomic says, that's the real crux of the problem, though. Puberty is a very impactful situation. We're talking about gender dysphoria, and I agree with you, and there is a discussion to be had about that. I just don't think at this time I'm personally ready for that discussion, if that makes sense, when it comes to children. It's a very not because it's volatile, because it's just because I don't have the reading on that as of yet to even engage in that part of the discussion, if that makes sense, right? I hope it does. I mean, I'm not trying to avoid any topic. Matter of fact, I want to dive into very difficult topics on Non Sequitur Show, and eventually that will be something that maybe we'll get into. But I just don't think that I'm ready for that yet. I hope you understand on that, though. Despite positive outcomes, people find it too scary to even discuss. Yeah, no, and that's yeah, I don't find it scary to discuss. I just think it's something that I'm just not suited for at this moment to discuss or even have that discussion with people. Maybe not even to facilitate it, because even when I facilitate a discussion, I kind of like to know a little bit about what's going on, right? So I again, I'm not trying to like dodge that one at all. Atomic, apologies for big post. I obviously have some bias relating to the topic. Yeah, no, look, we all got bias. Seriously, we all have bias. Nothing wrong with that. It's how you address your bias, right? When bias, I don't believe bias has to be irrational. I think there are proper forms of bias. Related to the topic, so it gets me worked up, and someone I like is going to be able to build bridges. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Oshok says, hi, Steve. This may be off topic, which probably will be. But have you ever posted a valid and sound syllogism for your Gnostic position? I'm curious to see his premise to say, no, I don't argue for agnosticism. So, yeah, I don't argue for it. So why would I have a logically valid and sound syllogism for something I don't argue? It's a position I hold. It's not something I advocate. Christopher, listening at work. Hi, Christopher. Good to see you. Atomic, though, that's tough since most people against things like Jews or LGBT use dog whistles, so often you have to make the extra step and, judging by past behavior, read what they really meant. And sometimes you might be right. Obviously, I do think they do dog whistle politics, absolutely, and I think the radical far left and far right both do it. But just because you agree with even the most radical far left or far right on one or two issues doesn't mean that you agree with everything. That's actually a fallacy called fallacy by association. But I do think they pander to their base. Absolutely. I see the right and the left do it. You don't think Trump supporters didn't do it, right? You didn't think, extreme feminists don't do it? Of course they do. Candace Owens says there's no middle ground on transgenderism. Well, Candace Owens is not something that I generally listen to. So, yeah. I don't know who. I mean, I don't know what her position is. I know who she is. I think I just watched her on. Was she with Steven Crowder just not too long ago? I think. I don't know. Let's see. Tom, one should have a good basis to eradicate any philosophical position, but how strong is your basis to do that? Like I said, I think it's nonsensical. If somebody says, "Hey, I want to eradicate," theism, how is that? That means they basically want to promote atheism, right? But that means they want to eradicate the belief that God existed. They're not going to kill every theist out there. It's not a genocide of theists. Florida man, enough said. Yeah, exactly, right? I just relate everything Florida man to Res Rhetoric because, he's the typical Florida man, right? Disbulance. Oh boy, as an expert on the topic of being trans, much to the disappointment of my mom, I'm glad to be here, even I'm late. Well, I hope your mom patched that up. Look, I actually wanted a son initially, but I had a daughter, and I wouldn't ever change that for anything. But if I had a son that, trans to daughter, or a daughter that trans to man, I'm going to support them 100%. It's a non-issue to me. My daughter was gay, or, my son was gay. I mean, they have my full support. I think that parents that don't support their children on that are just piece of shit parents. But again, we're not talking about the medical procedures for kids. We're just talking about as far as the adults. Let's see. Tom 34. I know you won't change. If you would, I'd be shocked. Yeah, look, I don't think anybody should have the expectation I'm going to change. If you change my mind, don't change me. Yeah, you can quote me on that. That's going to be my position. Change my mind, don't change me. That's a good tagline. I'm actually going to use that. I don't know if anybody's ever said it before. Probably things have always been said, but I think that is a good position to have that you can quote me on. Change my position, don't try to change me. I like that, actually. Change my position, don't try to change me. Or yeah, okay. Atomic, 100% understand it's a hard conversation that you have to be armed with information for. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at a lot of different things as we even speak. I'm always reading stuff. And so, I've been really catching up on critical race theory lately, and intersectionality, and critical theory, Marxism, and things of that nature, and the Frankfurt School, and repression, tolerance, and things of that nature. And so I don't have the time to shift gears and try to dive into the medical aspects of hormones in children. I just couldn't do it, because these topics that we talk about require a little bit of background understanding. Not to be an expert, but at least having a superficial understanding. And when people tell me, well, I don't understand at all, okay, that's your belief. Don't have a conversation with me. Simple as that. If you don't think that I understand the very basics of critical race theory, even though I'm reading Delgado right now, and even have given my input on what I think Delgado was talking about when he did his research on how the top Harvard law papers were all the top 20 were all cited from white males, rather than any females or Latino or black people. So yeah, I mean, if you think I know nothing about critical race theory or critical theory or anything like that, okay, fine. Don't talk to me about it. That's all. Candace and Crowder got into a kerfuffle recently. Oh, I have to look into that. I thought I remembered something about that. Yeah, Justin. Yeah, the children angle is definitely a complex and difficult side of the topic to discuss. Exactly. I think it should be discussed, but by people far more competent in that area to me to facilitate. Even I couldn't really engage in that conversation, but to even facilitate it, you probably need somebody that has a little bit more understanding than I do on that. And see, look, I admit I have my epistemic limitations. I admit that there's certain things I won't talk about because I'm not that familiarized with them. You never see me engaging in certain topics that I know absolutely nothing about. Never. Have we ever had a discussion on brain surgery? No, I know nothing about it. Have we ever had a discussion on, well, we have had geology, but even then, I that's one of my weak areas. But yeah, it's just certain things I just have no interest in discussing, Let's see here. Just says, I remember watching a vid of kid coming out to his ultra-Christian parents where the mom says, I knew this since you were very young. And then literally 5 seconds later, you chose this. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, the far fundamental Christians, that's a whole different discussion to be had right there, right? I think they're just as radicalized and just as morally compromised, so to speak, because they put their moral framework in God rather than developing it themselves. I think that Ozzy is completely right when he says divine command theory cripples Christians. I think he's absolutely correct on that. Because what you're doing is you're abdicating your own sense of morality, and you're just saying, well, God wants that. Well, how are you developing a strong sense of ethics if you're just saying, well, God wants it that way? No, you're guessing, first of all. And second of all, God did some pretty shitty stuff in the Old Testament. I hate to break it, people. Yeah, change my mind, don't change me. Yeah. I'm gonna keep it that way. Change my mind, don't change me. Go ahead, spread the good word. As the officially voted in papal holy Pope of agnosticism. I bless you to go spread the good word, change my mind, don't change me. Everybody go use it. Please give me proper attribution, but whatever. That's going to be, I think, a good tagline for my next. I'm not doing a whole new show or anything like that, but I usually do like mini shows within like mini things. I had Judgment Call and Caffeine Corner and things of that nature. But I'm going to be doing one kind of like the discussion table that I tried out, but I didn't much like. It was okay, but I want to do something hardline topics, and I think that's going to be a good tagline. Change my mind, don't change me. And somebody's going to argue, but if you change your mind, aren't you fundamentally changing your own essence? Go away. Atomic, depending on timing, I might be able to make the panel, at least tune in. Looking forward to it. As of right now, I'm still off on Fridays. If that changes, it won't be till probably end of March. And I usually do the show at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock, depending on situations. I'm finding that 3 o'clock is a little bit better because you get the UK audience. Yeah, exactly. Matt says race theory is forbidden in the free speech us. The government says so. There you go. That's it. I'm not against talking about race theory or critical race theory, and I think there's some aspects of critical race theory that I do agree with, and I don't really care if it's taught in a course elective. But how it's taught, I think it is a question. But I don't think at all critical race theory should be taught in K through 12, and it is being taught, contrary to what people are saying, it is being taught, only it's not under the name critical race theory. However, there are many elements that are core thesis of critical race theory that you do see in grade school that I do not agree with. But that's a different topic that we'll get into another time. Again, one of those difficult conversations that I want to do on Non Sequitur Show without the hyperbolic grenade throwing. The Crowder Candace beef was about Crowder speaking out on the contract that Daily Wire presented him with. Oh, well, look, I don't watch the Daily Wire, so I'm not a fan of any of that. I have seen some clips of Ben Shapiro, and I will occasionally find Ben Shapiro saying some pretty funny stuff. Good, bad, or indifferent. Sometimes he's just way out there, and sometimes he might actually say something that I agree with. He is Jewish. But I mean, he's very religious. I'm not, and I don't think we would agree on the vast majority of things. But I mean, occasionally he says something, that I'm like, yeah, he makes a good point. Or other times, like, what the hell is he saying? So yeah, I don't watch the Daily Wire. Let me kind of breeze through these because I do got to get going. Atomic, a big part of reacting harshly to transgenderism, too, is pretending it's a new phenomenon because it runs counter to heteronormative Puritans' values of America, but it's not a new thing. Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I don't think it has been. However, the only pushback I will give you on that is I do think because people have promoted it so much that there are parents that are trying to raise their children as transgender when they're not. And I think that's causing issues. I don't think at any period of time, there wasn't people that had gender dysphoria, and I don't think at any period of time transgender didn't exist, just like I think gay people have always been around. I think that's always been statistically, probably, if I had to guess, maybe around 8 to 11% of the population, maybe somewhere around there, if I remember correctly. And again, that's a guess. If I'm wrong of the number, that's fine. But I mean, there is still a significant portion of the population that has always been gay. It just never has not been. You find it in the entire animal kingdom. And so I do think, yes, transgender people have been around forever. Whether they were able to express it or not, that's a completely different story, right? Tom34, change my mind, don't change me. This sounds like a good baseline model. I agree. Spread the good word as the a-holy pope of agnosticism. But anyways, I do got to wrap this up. But again, so what do you guys think? Give me a little bit of feedback right now while I have it in real time. Do you think, one, that I think that I'm expressing any really radical views? Do you think that merely because I think there's a discussion to be had, I'm suddenly alt-right rather than center? Do you also think that these discussions shouldn't be had? They should be shut down merely because you don't like that kind of discussion? Which, by the way, I don't think any of my audience would agree with, but if you're watching this after the fact, if you think that. And four, if we have this on Non Sequitur, which I probably obviously will do, give me some suggestions in the comment section of what you think, how we can do it, where one, I will be removing and blocking and muting people that want to cause issues, trolls, hyperbolic comments from either side. If you attack, somebody in the gay community, you're just going to get blocked. I'm not probably going to mute you. I detest that stuff. I block racist. Anybody who comes after me, I've literally just blocked two racists in the last couple of days. If you start talking about any kind of racial superiority, whether you're white or black, you're done with me. I have no interest in that. I will not allow racism on my channel, and I certainly will not even close to. I don't see any reason why I would ever have a white supremacist or some kind of Nazi on my channel. I don't. Why? Other people can have these discussions. I'm not saying that you can't. Right? If you want to have a Nazi on your channel and discuss it and try to show people the idiocy of their position, have at it. Right? Free speech. It's just not something that I want to do. I think giving any of them platform to me is just I can't personally do it. But I have had to block racists lately, and so I don't want any kind of people coming in and attacking anybody else on this discussion when we have it on Non Sequitur show. So I want to keep it very high level, and I want to keep it strictly with kind of factual based and evidential based and logical and reasoning, and not just by passion. I know that's very difficult to do, but hey, my show. Atomic, $10 super chat. Thank you, Atomic. A little tip for the good convos. Keep on trucking. And I very much appreciate it. And yes, please be able to join the panel. If you want to leave me a comment or email me later, or however you want to contact me, DM me on Twitter, and you want to give me a time where you might be available, I can maybe work around that a little bit, because I get 2 days off a week still. That's not going to change. But like I said, I don't know your time zone. I tend to do these shows 3 o'clock Pacific time or 5 o'clock Pacific time. But yes, I would love to have you on the panel. So please get a hold of me, message me, or leave me a comment on the video. So thank you for that very much. Keeps the lights on. Even though I am going to get a pay raise if this promotion ever goes through HR, I've been spending a lot more than usual too. I try to keep it to a budget, but it's hard in California. This California is not cheap, people. It's not cheap. And then, me and my roommate, we get things together and groceries and go out for food, and we go out, we like to go out for a drink or something. And she's picky, by the way. Yes, See, I'm not even exaggerating. You don't know the struggle's real.
I'm a foodie.
She's a foodie and she's picky. See, I'm the opposite. I'll eat anything except I had these, I know we're getting off topic and I don't care. I got to go, but I had these, what are those? I can never remember the name. Chicharrones. I am sorry, but chicharrones, the ones at least I had, were disgusting. I will never have them again. They were just, ugh. And I pretty much eat anything. Never again. We could have a discussion if you like chicharrones and why they're good, because I went to a really good place. I mean, this Mexican place that I go to is amazing. Their carne asada tacos and their chicken tacos are, but not the chicharrones. Tony says, I was happy to grab rule. Any statement of groomer must be proven with evidence and not allude to some crazy boogeyman with massive weight to the claims behind them. Yeah, well, I would just, by fiat, just eliminate any of that, right? If somebody comes in and starts using any kind of hyperbolic language like that, they're done with me, Atomic. I will not accept anybody running anything in the narrative. Oh, you're a gay people, you're a groomer, anything like that. That's just outside the realm of the conversation, to the point of just, to me, I think it's vile. Like I said, I straight up, and I'll be honest with you, straight up. If I had, as a babysitter, if I had to let somebody be a babysitter and knew they were gay or trans or drag over a Catholic priest, I'm going to choose the gay trans drag in a heartbeat. There's not even a matter of, if I had a son. It's just not even in contest with me. I'm sorry, I don't trust the Catholic clergy. Ever. Sorry. You can lambaste me for that all you want. But yes, anybody who thinks that gays are out there trying to groom people is just absolutely that's just hyperbolic rhetoric to an extreme, and I have no interest in that. And I know they use isolated situations, but here's the thing. You find in any community, you're going to find people like that, right? In any community, but you don't find hundreds or if not thousands of them being condoned in the Catholic Church and then moved around. You don't find that. That's systemic. That is something that is ingrained, I think, in the system, and I will hold to that. Here. All right, Christopher, my rent for a 2-bedroom is $1,100. Oh yeah, 2-bedroom for you sweet summer child. Yeah, that if you get a 2-bedroom for $1,100, you tell me where. Good luck with that. You might get a single bedroom for maybe $1,250 in some of the more outlier regions, but yeah, you're looking at $2,000 easy for even a single bedroom in some places. Yeah, and it's much higher the closer you get to LA. It's expensive here, and our rent goes up all the time. And so my biggest expenses are rent and food by far. It's just not cheap living in California. So even though I make decent money, and I'm trying to save for retirement, eventually I like to retire when I'm 62. I want to have at least, six figures in the bank by the time I'm 62, and it's completely possible. But, I got to work another 10 years. And I realize this, a lot of things that went down with the whole coof and all that made me realize that, look, I need to start saving more. Because, I can't rely on other people like, honest business partners or something, But anyways, now that I've pissed off the Catholics, let me know what you think. And again, in the video description, or excuse me, in the video comment section, I really hope that everybody who's watching this live and after the fact, leave me a comment. So, hey Frank, good to see you. I know, and by the way, Frank is Catholic, and he knows my position, and we get along great. I respect him as a person immensely. And it's not. I'm not overgeneralizing. I'm not like saying all Catholic people are bad. No, not at all. I don't do that with anybody. I think there's good and bad in all groups. But good to see you, Frank. Good to see you, Tom. So again, Tom, Chris, Atomic, Frank, Chemo, Jesse, April, Disturbance, all you to have, leave me comments. I will get back to you within a day. The more comments you provide me, the better the channel I think becomes. All right. So thank you for the super chat. If you want to become a member of the channel, you can do that too. Hit the join button. You get a cool little green name. I also have Patreon. I'm still doing for this channel and the Non Sequitur show. So pays mostly right now for drinks and food. I'm not going to front. We've been getting we got brandy now. Do we have any more of that spice rum, the Kraken?
That Kraken, yeah. Have a little bit.
Yeah, we have a decanter full of Kraken. So yes, I don't even drink that much, but okay.
Thank you.
All right. But like I said, it really does help if you share these videos and you leave a comment, and if you want to support the channel by leaving a donation, we appreciate it. But I really do want your views on this. This is why I want to have this because let's talk on Non Sequitur, and not have it with the people that have just been hyperbolic. Those people have recused themselves from the conversation. If you've attacked me personally, if you called me alt-right, if you called me a Nazi, you called me anything, you're not going to be involved in this conversation. Period. I'm not lifting that. Daniel says, I question your reasoning. There are no good flat earthers. I don't. No. I don't know any flat earther that's good. They're all whatever. All right, good night, guys. I gotta go. Got to go to work. Long day ahead of me today. So if you try to message me today, I won't get back to you till late tonight or tomorrow. Okay. And I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate all your support, and I will continue to do what I do and just talk and tell you guys my thoughts and see you guys agree or disagree, because I'm certainly not going to kowtow to people trying to tell me I can't talk about things, or that I subscribe to some ideological group that I don't, because that's just not going to happen with me. So with that, good night.